I'm being joined right now by the Cannes Award-winning filmmaker, the writer and director of The Substance, Coralie Fargeat. Coralie, what a pleasure. So happy to be talking to you finally about this amazing movie. How are you?
Well, I'm so good. Like I woke up from yesterday's night premiere of The Substance in LA, so that was truly for me such a moving moment, like being there presenting the film after all the years, to making it. And yeah, that was truly special being in this DGA room with all the audience and celebrating with the cast, part of the crew who was there. Those moments are important to celebrate because that's the achievement, and finally the movie is soon in the world, so that's great.
Yeah. I was at the world premiere at Cannes, and I don't know what any of us expected, but certainly not what you delivered upon. I mean, that was one of the most insane, craziest screenings I think I've ever been a part of. I remember when it was all over, we came out, we were like high-fiving each other because we were just so high on the maximalist style of filmmaking and just what one would just call cinema in general. You used every tool in a director's toolbox to accentuate this story for maximum impact. And I want to talk a bit about those elements here because I think so many members of your crew are delivering some of the best work I've heard and seen all year here. So before I get to them, though, I know this story comes for you, from a very personal place. I remember there's a quote in David Fincher's Seven, where something along the lines of how it's not enough to tap people on the shoulder, you got to hit them with a sledgehammer, and then you'll know that you have their attention. And I feel like this movie is really hammering in its message really, really strongly to its audience. So, can you tell me a bit about where this story emerged from for you to deliver it so strongly?
Yeah, basically, I really kind of wanted to express in the same way that I feel about those issues. That's why I wanted the movie to be hyper violent, hyper excessive, not subtle at all, because I wanted the movie to be at the level of, how I've been feeling quite my whole life about this. Basically, I started to write the movie when I had passed my 40s, and I really started to think and hide these voices in my head like, okay, now your life is over. You're not going to be, no one is going to care about you. No one is going to be interested about you. This is really the end. And the violence of those thoughts were so crazy, and that I took a step back and I said, how violent, absurd, crazy this is, to hopefully not at the middle of my life really feeling this for real. And the reality of those thoughts were extremely true, and so I said, okay, I really have to do something with that, because if I took a step back on my, on my life, I think at every age since I'm a kid, I've been kind of worried about how my body and how I was going to be judged in the public space, how, I was fitting or not fitting the kind of standards, that were expected from me, or that I thought were expected from me, and how during my whole life and on focusing on different things during time, like it led to a huge self-hatred, that you think that, okay, you're not good enough, that this part of your body has to be changed, and when you're finally happy with this part, it's another part that's going to worry you, and it's an endless circle that is, kind of generating, I think, such a different way that we can take our position in the public space. Because basically, I think as women, we constantly have to care about our body. We can't ignore it, because I think the outside world doesn't ignore it. Like, and for, the beginning of civilization, I think we've been put in a place where we were kind of seen or used and valued for what we were looking like. And I think it has a massive impact in how we position ourselves in society and how we get to internalize this violence. And yeah, so basically I felt, okay, for me, this is the time, and I felt strong enough in my filmmaking to address it in the genre that I love, because I had done my
Yeah.
first feature film. And I knew that this movie was going to be more difficult to make. It was going to be more challenging also on an emotional level, because it's really confronts, me with like things that are vivid.
Yeah.
But I knew that it was a step that I had to do now, because I felt that everything that I felt inside and that I think we are used to hide, behind the pearly smiles, I wanted it to let go and to kind of splatter the world with it, saying, yes, this is the reality of it. This is what's happening. This is what the world is doing to us. And it's not subtle, it's not little, it's not delicate, it's huge, it's violent, it's everywhere, and it's yeah, it is excessive. So
Yeah.
that's why I really kept, I knew from my instinct that the movie needed to be at the level of that. That was kind of the, for me to be faithful to what I had written and why I had written it. I needed it to be like with that much violence and excess on screen.
Yeah. I remember very vividly, there were so many people who had, like I said earlier, this reaction to it that was, just like jaw dropping in terms of the filmmaking and the message that you were conveying. But then I also talked to some people too who were really upset by the movie. I think because of the way that, in this case here, Elizabeth Sparkle, like this is a very sad story, for her and what she goes through over the course of this movie. And I think it really struck people in a very personal way. Um, Obviously, I know it's not your intention to necessarily upset anybody when they are watching your film, but did you hear like that kind of a response, like coming out of Cannes, that there were some who were feeling like this is about me? Like I feel attacked almost by this.
I mean, like, to be honest, I don't care to upset people. Like, I think
Sure.
when you do a movie, like, you need to do what is true for yourself, and then you don't control how the movie is going to be received. And
Yeah.
I knew from the start that it would be a polarizing film, because the movie is very strong in its vision. It's very strong in what it says, in the way it says. So of course it's gonna, kind of divide the audience for some part. But also because I think that the movie for me, like, is describing the reality that I see around me. It's not a
Mhm.
kind of I wish the future was great and we can, express ourselves as women in our 50s and be super happy. No, that me, I see the violence around me, of all the inequality that it's still there, all the gender, yeah, inequality that I still very feel all around me. And, I wanted to show that. I wanted to show, yes, that this is violence, this is gross, this is, very rude sometime. I think from the beginning of civilization, yes, we have been put, like, the image of the end, like it's naked women with feathers dancing on stage. This is the reality of, what's existing and what has existed. And this is all what I wanted to talk about. And and for me, the change has to happen when you open your eyes about what's here.
Mhm.
So I'm not presenting the film as what I wish how the world would be. I present it the way I think it is still organized in such a violent, misogynistic way, and I'm showing it. So some people like receive it because like they're shocked, but I'm so happy that they finally see that, like.
Yeah.
And after, like, it's topics that don't get discussed enough,
Yeah.
so I think it's when you get to discuss those topics in a more deeper, layers, because it's complex issues. So there is so much to say, and we're not used yet, to kind of discuss this in a more deep way.
Yeah.
So to me, everything that's going to help open those discussions, and have all the voices express themselves about that, I think will help the issue. I hope will help the movie to be understood in what it wants to say.
Yeah.
Um, uh, but yes, I think it's still a taboo. Like we're still, if you think about it, like I'm really shocked when I see we're still about commenting how bold it is for a woman just to keep her gray hair, like this is the comments that you hear. I mean,
Yeah.
like, so it shows, where we are. And I think the more the subject will be discussed, will be confronted, will be addressed, will be analyzed, the better it will be.
Yeah. Given that this is a story about, in this case, a performer who was over the age of 50, who was being told that her time is done, when you're casting that role, how do you tiptoe around that pitch so that they don't go, well, wait a minute, are you saying I'm past my prime? Like, why did you think of me when coming for this?
I mean, this was clearly one of the challenge of the casting process. I knew from the start when I was writing the script that it was gonna be the most challenging part of making the movie, because basically I was gonna ask an actress to confront her very own phobia, because I think
Yeah.
I chose to have the character of the film being an actress, because I think it's the heightened symbolism of what we all kind of face, with the sensation that our worth depend on the public eyes, on the outside eyes who look at us.
Yeah.
I knew, like, yes, it's something that is very challenging for someone, to address. It's something that is very scary, emotional, and many actresses just try and fight that as hard as they can. So I knew that, finding the actress who would be willing to do that was going to be a challenge. But again, I had no other way than be true and sincere with what the part was. I think that on the page it was super clear, like, this is not me telling her that she's past her time. It's the world around, and how,
Yeah.
kind of violent and unfair and sick it can be. I
Hmm.
think in the commentary it was pretty clear. Um, and I think, then the casting process, like, you never know who's going to be ready at the time you're going to take your script out to
Yeah.
accept a part, for many different reasons. I mean, they can love the script but not feel ready to play it. They can be also not available. There are so many different reasons that,
I mean, you had Ray Liotta originally, right? In the role of Harvey, I think, too, right?
absolutely. Yeah. This
Yeah.
was a tragic loss,
Yeah.
sure. And we had such a great meeting with Ray. He loved the script, and, like, he passed away a few
Yeah.
months before we started shooting. So, we were lucky to have Dennis Quaid, like, accepting the part immediately. He had also loved the script. But then it's the reality, of human beings, who kind of react their own way. And I know that with me, I understood after I read her book when we met, that
Hmm.
she had done the tough part for herself, dealing with those issues. She was out of, few years, very, very difficult, on her personal level. She had started to address for herself, I think, the fact that, okay, she wanted to get out of this jail about, putting her value just in the outside eyes. And I think this had given her some strength to feel that she could invest the part, in a way that she was strong enough to show vulnerability on screen. And I think you have to be strong inside to allow yourself to show vulnerability on screen without it hurting you. And
Yeah.
I think that's how we crafted something, and she brought something so strong, because as she was in herself in a place where she was grounded relating those issues, she was willing and ready to take the risk, to show herself vulnerable in the film.
Mhm.
So it was, yes, a meeting that happened for both of us, I think, at a moment of our lives where we were kind of, we had faced similar issues and we both wanted to, get out of them, make something that we could control again, that we didn't want to kind of suffer, to wait and suffer doing nothing. So I
Yeah.
think that making the movie was a strong statement for both of us that, okay, we want to do something with that.
Yeah. Going over to some of the technicals here, I mentioned earlier a lot of the sound effects in this movie are so accentuated and like they have such impact. What sound effect in this movie stands out to you the most? What was the one that was like your most favorite to work on?
Uh, I think it's really there are many of them, but I would say the one to me that was, I knew, so important and that would really change the face of the scene with the birth scene in the bathroom when Elizabeth injects herself and there is the first transformation that gives birth to Sue, because everything is from a immersive perspective, from within what she feels inside of her that we don't see, but that we need to feel with her.
Yeah.
So for this, I knew that the sound was like, 50% of the building of that scene. And I had everything very precisely in my mind when I was shooting, and it was a very, kind of long process to get all the pieces together. Like it was at the same time, like the sound design, the Foley, like the Foley artist did something for the tunnel of light, where he mixed like the voice of the me that is distorted as we go into the tunnel of light. There is, of course, the score, which is one piece where we worked a lot with the composer to find the right, the right tone. And then there is all the recording of the sound effect immersive, where we kind of created our own device to be able to record like this feeling of inner hearing the inside of the body. So we adapted like a special, mic that we put in the ears of the actress for the,
Ooh.
ADR sessions, and so they could redo all the scene with a kind of an immersing sound device recording. And then it's like being super precise to synchronize every breathing with every movement of camera. And it was, yes, such a work of, precision to get to the feeling that you're inside the scene and that you live it together with them. And this scene is a pivotal moment because it's, when you think of it, it's so absurd the way like Sue appears. So I knew that all those elements needed to be there. So the audience can enter the movie and accept the fact that, yes, Sue is born like that, and every element has a role, image wise, but also sound wise for this.
I noticed on my most recent viewing there was in the credits, I believe, for one of Elizabeth's transformations, referred to like as Gollum, basically. And I need to know, is that Demi Moore in a costume? Is that another actor? Because I was looking at the limbs and how they are bent and such, and I'm like, how the hell do you get an actor to perform in and I don't even know if it's a costume or what it is. Like, just how did you guys create that?
Yeah, so this was one of for each creature, like we had a very long process of getting to think about the best technique to get us the most organic reality result. Because basically I knew from the start that I wanted to be able to film for real what I was going to see, the flesh. The movie is about flesh and bone, so I wanted to put my hands in those prosthetic, in those, in and be able to film for real this deformation, those knees, those legs. And but of course there are some technical constraints that that you can't do. So I knew like I didn't want like the CGI option, which is like to age or just virtually, which was something that I wasn't interested. But CGI helped us tremendously to be able to do everything with prosthetic, because like I always say that we did everything for real, which is true, but the VFX help us tremendously, like patches, the little thing that we couldn't hide, or that, you know, like humanly we can't do, to be able to get the best of both worlds. And so
Yeah.
for the Gollum, for instance, we mixed many different techniques depending on the shots, and that was one of the things I'm super proud that we kind of crafted with the crew, with all the different elements. And so basically we have like dummy with for the shots where we see her until the how do you say, the waist, like it's prosthetic, like applied on her face,
Mm.
with very very long, you know, makeup time for this. I think it was almost 7 hours, you know,
Jeez.
to apply. Yeah. Well, all those prosthetic are so specific, so seen, so that, you know, the face can recreate the performance,
Yeah.
and that's the important thing that we wanted to preserve. So that was, you know, something that was very very long. And for the shots where we see her in full length, we casted a body double who were like anorexic, like he was super skinny, like, you know, who were
Yeah.
like and we applied real prosthetic as well. So it was like also like kind of 7 hours makeup, recreating you know, kind of a fake mask for if we were seeing her 3/4, that, you know, we don't give away the trick. And we had also, for some of the shots where we see Demi's face, I'm thinking about the shot in counter, you know, angle shot where she bangs at the door when she said to the guys, "Get out." Here, like, it's Demi in the prosthetic, and it's a mix of mixing the body double that we film for real to apply on the parts of Demi that we couldn't do in prosthetic the same way. So basically, it's Demi in the prosthetic mixed with some like real prosthetic on the stunt double, but that we mixed on Demi with the help of VFX. So that's really how, you know, everyone worked together, so everything could be real in a way, like made on real person, real flesh, but help us to get both of, you know, the two worlds, that so that we could also have a few shots where, you know, we can see more of the me with this real crumpled body together. And this is also what gave us so many, you know, technical constraints that we had to deal around with the schedule. That's why we ended up having also such a long schedule, because all this, like, it's really something that you have to work around. Like, it's really heavy choices that you made, you know, in pre-production, that's going to influence a lot of the way the movie is going to be done. And to me, this is also where the DNA of a movie is found, is when you make those decisions, like, because they're going to influence the soul of your film. You know, they're going to influence what's going to go past to the audience. And to me, it's at that time that those decisions can change really the way your film is going to go. And then it was like, for me, it was brilliant to see all the cruise departments work together to try and find our own way of crafting those creatures. And that's what I think is beautiful in the film, that, you know, we didn't follow any rule written somewhere that we have to do like that. We created our own way for our own needs of the film. And I think, yeah, I think everyone can be proud of the babies that are on screen, you know.
Yeah, I think so. Every department, every person who worked on this, from the performers to the production designers, my God. But also, too, there's a lot of cinematic influence here. So, and whoever it was, Kubrick, or if it was Cronenberg or John Carpenter, or whoever it is that you pulled from for this, there's a bit of that in there that they can probably all look at and be proud of, but also too, there's a bit of you in there as well. And I hope you are immensely proud. And I can only just say thank you so much for this movie, Coralie. It's only your second film. I'm like gobsmacked by that because I think you're already one of the greats. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you. That was lovely.